What is going on, world? What's up, everyone? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new Starcraft 2 video. This one is between two players on the WCS Pro circuit, spawning here in the bottom left-hand corner of Blue Shift LE, playing with the red Zerg pieces. He's currently down, but certainly not out of this series just yet. His name is Denver. And his opponent spawning in the top right-hand corner of the map. He's playing with the blue Terran pieces. He's currently up 1-0 and wants to keep this series rolling in his favor. His name is uThermaL. So guys, you can check out game number 1 in this series on the YouTube channel right now, and I'm very excited to see what happens and how Denver is going to respond here in this game. He has decided to go for the very quick spawning pool. So a little bit, once again, probably going to try to get some Zerglings out relatively quickly. But I will say this, guys, uThermaL played game number 1 very well. A little bit of some miss micro on Denver's part, and he was able to kind of roll past him in that first game. Interestingly enough, this series, guys, was played at the WCS in Montreal. This was round 1 of the bracket play. So for those of you wondering what that means, there's of course in the bracket play, it's after the group stages. So you got round 1, quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the grand finals ultimately in these big tournaments. So every game in these series count heavily. So here we go, guys. It does look like there was a little bit of a delay here of game. There's going to be a natural hatchery coming out of Denver. So, of course, he went for the very quick spawning pool into the natural hatchery, and then, of course, into his gas geyser. So, looks like uThermaL has decided to send a SCV across the map just to see if there's anything out of the ordinary here. There are some Zerglings coming out relatively quickly. There is going to be a Reaper out pretty much ready to meet the Zerglings if they decide to go after that SCV once again. But it doesn't look like that is going to be the case, at least right now. So it looks like, guys, both players, you know, in game number 1 gave each other a lot of respect. I'm wondering if we can, if the same is going to be said for you know, this game number 2 here between these two. Are we going to get a lot of respect, or are one of these players going to probably, you know, try to go for a little bit more of an aggressive build that, you know, to try to overwhelm the opponent? It does look like there's going to be a starport coming out of uThermaL. It's going to move that factory onto, of course, the reactor, so we can get a couple of those Hellions out. So he's going for a pretty standard build. On the opposite side, we do see Zergling speed upgrade coming out for Denver. He's going to go ahead and decides to get that quick third hatchery up as well. So you know, I'm not seeing anything too crazy out of either of these players just yet, guys. It looks like both players are going to try to kind of just test the waters and see what kind of, you know, what kind of damage they can do, if there's any openings that they can possibly get here. Denver has certainly decided to get, you know, that his a very quick macro, you know, try to macro up a pretty big economy here. Does look like a couple of those drones do go down, and it looks like the Reaper has kind of gone away at this point, but there is a Hellion that is trying to get some damage done, and there is damage done, and it may not look like much, guys, but in the grand scheme of things, every drone, every SCV, all of these units matter very much so. It does look like there's going to be a Liberator coming across the map. A stim pack is being researched, and now we're going to be getting that lair out, as well as the Baneling nest. So once again, Denver's kind of deciding to go for a pretty standard build once again against his opponent. So with this Liberator coming in, this could be pretty scary. It does look like there is a Spore Crawler that's going to be finishing up here relatively soon. But this Liberator may very well have pretty good range of a lot of these units here. Doesn't look like Denver's going to lose a whole lot quite yet. Does look like a sport crawler is coming in here, and this is really just delaying the Zerg player. This is, you know, really a lot of lost mining time at this point. And, you know, one drone after the next is going down right now. Very well played. This is so annoying to deal with if you are the Zerg player. So, you know, once again, the Liberator's out. The Liberator is creating just so many problems, and while this is all going on, +1/+1 is going to be coming out of uThermaL right now, as well as a siege tank and more Marines. So, uThermal's feeling pretty good right now. He feels like he's in a pretty good position to kind of take a 2-0 lead over his opponent. Denver is trying to, you know, kind of play catch up a little bit, going for the 2 evolution chambers. He's going for the roly-poly upgrade for the Banelings. And now, with the siege tanks out, there's not much that these Zerglings are going to be able to do. I don't really know if I like the unit compositions that Denver's going for against this build in particular of Denver, or of uThermaL. You know, when you have the Hellions and the siege tank as well as the Marines and Medivacs, it can be a pretty scary force to have to deal with in large numbers. So we'll have to keep tabs on what this uThermaL army decides to do, if he plans on moving out at some point or another, like maybe when these upgrades start finishing up. +1/+1 is started now for Denver. And, you know, he's pretty fully saturated on all 3 of his bases currently. He's going for that 4th base right now. So he's really just trying to macro up a big force. The same can be said, though, for uThermaL. He's doing pretty much the same thing, going for another factory as well as a couple more barracks. And this army is going to be starting to move across the map here. In the middle of the map now, you got Hellions, you've got, of course, the siege tanks and the Marines coming across the map with, of course, the Medivacs. And this army might be a little bit scary, but at the same time, Denver could force a surround here on his opponent, going very far on creep here. I don't know if I like this decision a whole lot. Those Zerglings are going to start target firing down some of those siege tanks, but all that said and done, once again, uThermaL is starting to push heavily onto creep. The Banelings are coming in here, and I don't know if they're going to try to pick up some of these siege tanks, and it does look like, once again, uThermaL is in a very good position right now. Everything being said and done here, these siege tanks are giving so much value to uThermaL right now, and now the Marines are starting to move forward with these Medivacs, going after the Baneling nest. You do not want that to go down. Did uThermaL overextend just a little bit here? He very well may have overstayed his welcome. He did get a little bit of that creep spread kind of, halted, at least for the time being. But I gotta say, I think uThermaL was really doing an incredible job, but I think he just overstayed his welcome just a little bit on creep there, because eventually Denver was able to hold there. Does look like there's going to be a little bit of some action here over near the 4th base location. The Zerglings are coming in for the surround. And all that said and done, not a whole lot of damage dealt quite yet. Does look like our Zerg player is getting that Hydra Den once again, going for those +2/+2 upgrades. And it looks like the drop play is really coming into full force here for uThermaL. He really wants to start pressuring his opponent here. And I love that decision. I really do. I love the decision to try to, kind of halt the creep spread and start moving into enemy territory, trying to get as much value as possible out of these units. And what this does, guys, is it really keeps the Zerg player at home, at least for the time being, and that is so important, really, because it's keeping the Zerg player either splitting up his army or just simply at home. And I mean, that's really important, because you do not want You certainly don't want the Zerg player to really dictate the pace of the game. So, does look like uThermaL has taken a lead in this game, but, I mean, by no stretch of the imagination, guys, is Denver out of this thing just yet. He's getting all of these upgrades, including Burrow. He's going ahead and getting the Overlord speed upgrade. Guys, you know, this, you know, when these upgrades finish up, you get more and more of these Hydras in. This could be a pretty scary force, but I gotta say, look at the force here that is coming once again up towards the front doorstep of Denver. Is a bunch of siege tanks, Marines, and medevacs, of course. The same unit composition really by both sides once again in this game. They're going to go right after a bunch of these units, and once again it looks like it's going to get cleaned up pretty quickly by Denver. But there's a lot of siege tanks. You can't just take this fight. It does look like he's going to try to come in from multiple angles here. Very well done there by Denver, not overextending. I still think that uThermaL's got a little bit of an advantage by the supply, but also just, you know, his army. This is really scary with all of these siege tanks. You've got to be really, really careful how you engage this. Does look like Denver might try to get the surround here, possibly the counterattack on the Terran player, and that's exactly what he's going to go ahead and do. Go after a bunch of those SCVs here. One base is going to go down. That is the third base location of Denver. And then on the opposite side, all of these SCVs are getting massacred right now by a bunch of these Zerglings. And it looks like, at this point, uThermaL's going to have to send some of his army back. Denver, those are the moves, though, that really keep you in games here in StarCraft 2. Really taking out a large portion of the army is absolutely crucial in you know, to success when it comes to the professional scene. It's the little things. It's not necessarily the big things that that make a massive difference in StarCraft 2. The slow pushes here, guys. uThermaL is slowly pushing more and more on creep here. They are going to continue to try to bait this army into the fire of all of those siege tanks. There is just so many siege tanks right now. This is just such a scary army to really, like, you know, kind of try to force yourself into to fight right now. Denver's playing this pretty smart, though, at this point. He's going ahead, he's getting another base, and it looks like now he's going to go ahead, he's going to try to attack from all angles, and oh my god, the Banelings are coming in here, are going to go ahead and take out all of those siege tanks. That was absolutely brilliant play by Denver. The splits were incredible. I thought there was no way he was getting out of that one with the current positioning on all those siege tanks. But I love this Lingbane Hydra composition here. It's taken me back to, like, the Heart of the Swarm days, guys. Really, I mean, just brilliant play here so far by Denver. Both sides really just jawing back and forth right now. It's hard to tell now who really has the advantage. Denver starting to move forward with, you know, part of this army here. He is going to try to get into this third base location. Not going to be able to do a whole heck of a lot against all these units. There was a drop here at this, what is probably the fifth base location, but the newly acquired fourth base is what I should say. And looks like actually that was a pretty, you know, I would say a pretty bad push there by Denver. He kind of, or more so, well played by uThermaL to catch a lot of those Zerglings and Hydras out of position there. And that really, I think that really hurt Denver there, because now we have uThermaL, who is almost maxed out once again, and he's starting to move across the map again. Now, it looks like there's going to be some burrowed Banelings once again, and they're very close here, and I'm so surprised. Aren't these Banelings? They are Banelings, and I don't know why Denver has not been, you know, blowing those Banelings up in Game 1 or Game 2 here. They're going to try to get the surround once again. The splits are coming in here for the Terran player. You got to be careful, though, going pretty far on to creep here. It looks like Denver's trying to kind of set up a surround or possibly go for the counterattack here. I think he's going for the counterattack, and it looks like he's going to try to get the surround on all of these Marines here, going for that massive counterattack here, and this might have been a really good decision here by Denver. Beautifully played here. There's not much at home to really defend against this Terran army, though. The Zerg units are here, though, in the natural expansion. Those Banelings are absolutely devastating to all of those Marines. It does look like the Marines are finally able to clear up all of those Zerg units. These Zerglings are still just doing massive amounts of damage, though. And Denver, once again, is pretty much even the score. And I'm really impressed with how Denver's been playing this. Other than the burrowed Banelings, I'm surprised he didn't go for, really taking out, a bunch of those Marines with the burrowed Banelings. But nonetheless, he's playing this absolutely brilliantly right now. Both sides, I mean, it's hard to tell who's really got the advantage, but I'm liking the momentum that is building here for Denver. Looks like they're going to try to get the surround once again on a bunch of these siege tanks, getting those surrounds. The Banelings are coming in, and oh my god, the Baneling hits are huge right now for Denver. I don't know, though, if that engagement necessarily went in favor of Denver, because now you got a lot more Marines are coming in with those Liberators. The Baneling hits have been hitting, but there's just so much Terran at the front doorstep of Denver. Can he hold on here? It looks like he's attempting to maybe go for another surround here, but with all these Liberators in position, I don't know how much longer Denver can hold on here. If he can hold on here, he might have a chance, but the splits are brilliant by uThermaL. Absolutely devastating that supply count by Denver, going after all of these evolution chambers, and now going after the lair right now. GG is called, and uThermaL wins this game in absolutely brilliant fashion. I gotta say, guys, uThermaL is playing this series brilliantly at this point. I hope you guys did enjoy this game between uThermaL and Denver, and if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I will see you guys all in the next one. Peace.